Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to help you get informed fast. Today, we're diving into something pretty central to our economy, maybe surprisingly so, scenarios.
That's right. And we mean everything from, the plots in movies you love, all the way to these complex forecasts that shape national policy.
Exactly. These aren't just abstract ideas floating around. They're tangible assets. They have real economic weight.
And we generally see two main types. First, you've got narrative scenarios. Think stories, characters, intellectual property, the stuff that fuels creative industries, shapes culture, really.
Yeah, on the other side of the coin?
Strategic scenarios. These are more analytical. Frameworks people use to predict, to plan for the future, geopolitical shifts, tech threats, that sort of thing.
Okay. So our mission today is to show you how both of these, narrative and strategic, are just crucial for economic growth, for jobs, for building a future that's, resilient.
It's a surprisingly connected world, and we want to give you a bit of a shortcut to understanding how these pieces fit together.
Right. Let's start with narrative scenarios then. The creative economy. How powerful is it really?
Oh, incredibly. Take the Korean film Shiri. You might remember it.
Yeah.
Relatively modest budget, KRW $3.1 billion.
Okay.
But the profit, KRW $11 billion net.
Okay.
It essentially lifted the entire Korean film industry's average production budget almost overnight.
Wow. So more than just a successful film, it was a catalyst. Is that what sparked the whole Hallyu, the Korean wave?
It was a major factor, yeah. It really showcased the power of intellectual property, IP, and this idea of transmedia storytelling.
Transmedia, like telling stories across different formats.
Exactly. Think about global examples. Harry Potter, Star Wars, or Marvel with their one-source multi-use strategy. One core story explodes into films, TV, games, merchandise.
So it builds resilience. Multiple revenue streams from one idea.
Precisely. It makes the cultural economy much less fragile, keeps audiences engaged longer too.
And this connects to soft power, right? It's not just about the money generated directly.
Definitely. Cultural content, especially film, is a huge tool for boosting a nation's global image. Shiri's success in Japan, for instance, over 1 million viewers, huge revenue. That directly translated into more tourism, more foreign investment in Korea. It actually shaped a positive international views. That's why governments often step in, like Korea's KOIFME or MSIT, to strategically support this. It's economic diplomacy in a way.
Okay, fascinating. So narrative scenarios shape perception, drive cultural economies. Let's switch gears to strategic scenarios. How do these help a nation compete, plan for the future?
Well, they're vital for navigating uncertainty. Look at the scenarios developed for the Korean Peninsula, projecting out to 2029.
Right, I've heard about those. They map out different futures.
Exactly. Very different. From my wish, that's successful integration, economic growth, to the other extreme, Namahan Sansang, which imagines integration failing, leading to economic collapse.
So these aren't predictions, but more like detailed what-ifs.
Precisely. They help leaders anticipate potential massive shifts, the economic consequences, and actually prepare, make contingency plans.
And cybersecurity threats fit in here too, I imagine. That seems very immediate.
Absolutely critical. Threat scenarios are essential tools. You analyze potential attacks, predict vectors, and build defenses. Cyber attacks cause huge economic disruption, financial loss.
And protecting infrastructure, IP.
Yes, all vital national assets. And you often see these threats increase with geopolitical tension. They're often linked.
It makes you think about looking even further ahead. What about emerging tech? Does science fiction, speculative fiction play a role here as a kind of scenario driver?
It's a really interesting point. Speculative fiction often grapples with things like quantum computing, brain-computer interfaces, even geoengineering.
Right.
It imagines the implications before the tech is even fully real.
So it sparks the conversation early. Ethical debates, policy needs.
Exactly. It gets us thinking about responsible innovation before we're reacting to a crisis. These imagined futures can actually guide strategic investments meant to secure a nation's long-term competitive edge.
It's clear how vital scenarios are for economics, for strategy, but what about the social side? Ethical advancement. Can films, for example, do more than just entertain?
Oh, absolutely. Think of a film like Eye in the Sky. It doesn't just tell a story, it immerses you in really complex ethical dilemmas about drone warfare.
Right, forces you to weigh difficult choices.
It makes complex issues more relatable, fosters critical thinking, public discussion in a way that, frankly, a policy paper rarely can. Speculative fiction, too, can act like a social laboratory.
A social laboratory? How so?
It lets us explore alternative social models, different ways of governing, different ethical frameworks. but safely, without real-world risk. It can generate some really innovative thinking for tough social problems.
Okay, so bringing this all together, if nations want to really maximize the economic benefits from scenarios, both kinds, what are the key actions? What should they be doing?
Well, first, strategic investment. You need robust content IP, stuff with that transmedia potential we talked about, and investing in advanced production, tech, virtual production, AI integration, things like that.
Makes sense. What else?
Fostering collaboration across sectors is huge. Maybe setting up interdisciplinary futures labs for strategic planning, and strong public-private partnerships, especially for things like cybersecurity training and innovation.
Right, bridging those gaps.
And finally, policy needs to be adaptive. Tech changes fast, so flexible frameworks are key. Plus, really integrating cultural content more deeply into economic diplomacy and international cooperation.
So it really comes down to seeing scenarios, whether they're creative stories or analytical forecasts, as vital practical tools for growth, for staying competitive, and just for overall societal well-being.
Exactly. You need that holistic approach, leveraging both narrative and strategic thinking together.
So here's something to think about as we wrap up. If scenarios help us prepare for the future, what unimaginable future are we maybe not exploring right now?
What scenario out there, beyond the obvious predictions, might hold the key to tomorrow's biggest opportunities, or perhaps its biggest challenges, something to mull over?